Hello, everyone. Welcome to our special live stream event for the launch of the fall 2024 Snap-on Diagnostics software. Now, we have a lot to talk about during this time, so let's just get right into it. Coverage keeps growing. Every single update, you get more and more vehicle coverage and more capabilities added to the tool. Let's look at this coverage over the last 2 years. So 15% system increase, 18% PID increase in North America. For European, 29% system coverage, 28% more PID coverage. So this is all additions over the last 2 years. And look at Asian, 34% more PID coverage, 21% more system coverage, and of course, more functional tests across the board as well. Now remember, with Snap-on software, no others out on the market can offer access to 40 plus million real fixes, which are based on billions of repair events and hundreds and billions of scanner data points. Also access to millions of fast-track guided component tests if you have a tool that has the fast-track guided component test function. So 22,139 actual total color picture location images to show you where components are on the vehicle. Over 1 million service resets and relearns available. And over 5 million fast-track intelligent diagnostic global PID flags total. So we're talking about in the smart data function of the fast-track intelligent diagnostics, the flags that get shown for the good and bad and monitored PIDs. 700,000 more PID flags were included as part of this release. So that is a huge number of new PIDs with known good min and max values added. Don't forget SureTrack, which is included in that as well. Hundreds of billions of scanner data points and billions of shop repair events equal over tens of millions of real fix tips. So these are complaint cause correction. What has fixed this vehicle in the real world, in real shops out there. Commonly replaced parts graph as well by code, filtered by the code based on mileage as well. Professional technicians that author SureTrack real fixes and fix-its. And then community fixes from our SureTrack community members, which you can also be a part of. As long as you have a current scan tool, you can go in and you can add that. So why is that important? That adds real world experience over and above the OEM level data that you already may have. And it helps to diagnose and fix problems faster and correctly the first time if you know what others have done in that case. Fast-track guided component test growth. So these are vehicle-specific illustrated test procedures to show where to connect, how to connect, and what the results should look like right there on the screen. So if I need to test a component, I want to know where it is, how do I have to hook it up, how do I have to test it, and what good should look like. We've added over 360,000 new engine system tests in the last 2 years. And we have new Kia, Lexus, and Tesla vehicles in this release. 70 topic-based training courses on the tool itself as well. So there's built-in on-the-job training, electrical training. There's stuff in there on diesel vehicles, ADAS. There's wealth of information just in there. You don't even have to hook up to a car. You just have to have the tool in front of you. You can go into the classes. And then if we look at this chart over here, added systems over the last 2 years, you can see that massive engine growth, but well over 100,000 new tests in transmission, ABS, pretty close to 100,000, body electrical, HVAC, and you can see how it goes down from there. But this is added content to your tool every single time we update. Also inside the fast-track guided and component test, we have new enhanced component test meter test instructions. So it is a very high-resolution picture that shows you exactly where to connect on the tool. So in this case, ground in channel 1, it shows you where to hook there. And then in this case, it says connect the black test clip to the negative terminal. And then so on and so forth. If we have to back probe, I'll show you an example of that when we go live on the tool. But it's much easier and more streamlined setup instructions on the tool. Plus, don't forget the location images. We started adding these a few updates ago. And with this release, over 3,000 new locations added. And that gives you access total to over 22,000 total images available within guided component tests. Now, many locations also offer multiple images that'll provide you a wide view of the area, like here's the engine compartment, and then it'll give you a detailed view a lot closer to the component as well. So here's an example of that's a purge valve, and here's a couple examples of, say, cam actuators for variable valve timing system. You can see those in there, and it shows you exactly where it is right on the engine. Very helpful. And don't forget service resets and relearns. There are now over 1 million service resets and relearns available within the tool. So these are job-based repairs. What do I need to reset? What do I need to do a relearn on? And it's going to give you access for the core repair itself, plus any other associated components that might be associated to that actual repair, such as I replaced the windshield on this vehicle, so now I need to relearn the camera. So it's going to walk you through all that, what you might need to do there at a quick glance. And don't forget Fast Track Intelligent Diagnostics. We have PID flags for non-engine systems. We added that in the last update, and we've added considerably more. There are now over 5 million PID flags across the tool, across the codes, across the vehicles that we cover. And like I said, over 700,000 more just in this release. We started with engine, and that's been for quite some time since we started, but added transmission, brakes, hybrid vehicle, electric vehicle systems, tire pressure monitoring, body electrical, and more. And speaking of electric vehicles, we have a new make with this release as well. So we have Tesla. Welcome Tesla to the Snap-on Diagnostics tool family. So that is going to be available with this fall release. As soon as you get it in your tool, you will have access to that. And we'll talk a little bit more in detail about that in a minute. Also, some new models, either through vehicle communications or through guided component tests. So the Alfa Romeo Tonale, we have vehicle communications coverage now. That's a new model for them. The Kia K5, we've added new guided component tests that we didn't have before. All the Lexus NX and RX vehicles shown here, additional guided component tests. We never had guided component tests on those models before, so now we do. And then Tesla's X, Y, and 3 models have vehicle communication software, like we said, a new make, and guided component tests available for it as well. So huge with that release. 2024 model year updates for the 15 makes that are shown on here. So this means that these have the full vehicle coverage that you would come to expect: engine, transmission, body, etc. All of the codes and data and functional tests that you would come to expect are available on 2024 model years on these makes. And then, of course, we have 2024 code scan and clear at a minimum on all makes that are covered that have a 2024 model that we have in the tools. So if you don't have the full engine, transmission, etc. coverage, you can at least at a minimum get that code scan and clear. And then, of course, in the next update, we'll backfill all that as well. So let's get into some of the highlights. And as it says on the screen, these are highlights. This is just a sampling of everything that gets added in every release. As you know, there's just so much to talk about. We don't have time to talk about it all. So we're just going to cover the highlights. So first off, starting with our Asian vehicles, Honda, CR-V, Clarity, Civic, and Passport. Special functions for intelligent cruise control module actuator and engine tests and actuator tests in there. And you can see what's listed on the screen. And another point to this screen as well, that just kind of rose to the top of my mind. Look at that, back to 2015 Honda Civics. So a lot of folks think, oh, well, it's only new vehicles that get added. That's absolutely not. We go all the way back as far as, well, at least 2015 here. And I think we'll see a little bit even further back on some of these. So always know that you're getting enhanced coverage on even older models, especially the ones that you're seeing in your shop right now. Also have the Dodge Hornet in there. So 2023 and newer Hornet. So that's a fairly newer model for Dodge. So you can see all these different modules listed on there that were added, and some actually these are tests, special functions that have been added to the vehicle. So for the Anti-Lock brake control module, assembly check, brake disc substitution, brake pad substitution, set the last service date, reset service information, instrument cluster module, etc. You can see it all on the screen. Ford, very large update for Ford. So you actually have a couple slides to talk about it. So PMI has been a big deal. So in order to replace a part, you need to often copy the data that's on the existing part and then essentially paste that data into the new part. So that's called programmable module installation. It takes the configuration out of one and puts it in a new module. So we've added 2011 to 2017 Mustang power steering control module. So you do a power steering rack on that, you need to do that. 2010 to 2018 Ford Focus restraint control module, PMI. So on the active restraints. And look at that, back to 2010. Like I said, going back in years. Also 2023 and newer F-Series and F-Series Super Duty. New engines covered there. We got the 5.2 Raptor, the 6.8, the 7.3-liter gas engine, as well as the 6.7-liter diesel that we've had. That's in 2023 and newer. Body control module, 39 new variants of body control module that could possibly be offered on there. Some manufacturers just have variables of variables for different modules. It could have 50 different part numbers. So we have 39 more body control modules that you weren't able to get into before. Now you can. 2020 and newer F-150 special functions, ABS in the ABS system, low pressure fuel system test as well, occupant classification module, automatic headlamp leveling calibration. That's important for the automatic headlamps. Ford 2021 and newer Bronco special functions. So power steering control module resets. There's also PMI in there. Communication error resets, internal failure resets, etc. And then for the engine, the low pressure fuel system test. We're going to talk about that in a minute when we go live on the tool. But that is very helpful because you can it'll pressurize the system and then it will check for leaks. So basically check for a leak down. It'll have a timer and it checks for whether or not you have a leak on the low pressure side of the fuel system. So that can be helpful in diagnosing a drivability problem or a low pressure problem. And as I said, Tesla, new OEM for us and new models added. We got 4 new models. So Tesla's a little bit different, the way they communicate and the way they diagnose the vehicle. I've been doing a lot of research on this lately because I have a class coming up on it. But as far as the 2012 to 2020 Model S and the 2016 to 2020 Model X, those vehicles have a 16-pin regular OBD2 port underneath. The reason they're kind of unique is because they don't have to have that port on the car because they've never had a gasoline engine in a Tesla. So they didn't really have to do it. And on some models like 2021 and newer S and X and any Model 3 or Model Y up until 2024, they don't have an OBD2 connector. They have a proprietary connector, and they also have a actually very powerful diagnostic tool in their actual touchscreen in the car. This car is basically just a rolling computer. So on those vehicles, we give you instructions on how to find alert codes and what the alert codes mean, how to unlock the gateway on the vehicle, and how to enable and disable service mode. So you can actually get in and do some of those functions and testing on the vehicle. So that is, I think that's pretty cool. I got to play with it about a month ago, and it's pretty powerful. European vehicles, BMW. So a lot of suspension systems on the X6. Once again, going back to 2008 to 2014 on the X6. Actually, those are engine systems. So Servotronic, Valvetronic 1 and 2. And then on the X6 Hybrid, we have some suspension systems. 09 to 2010, so that's the integrated chassis management, vertical dynamics module, and damper satellite modules on each core. As far as Jaguar, active damping control module, codes data and functional tests and special functions. Chassis control module on the XF 2013 to 2015 as well. Mercedes C-Class and EQE subsystems. Gasoline particulate filter regeneration on the 2013 to 2019 CLA where available. So we've heard of diesel particulate filters before. Gasoline particulate filters are starting to make its way over here. They've been over in Europe for a while, but they're starting to make their way over to North America. So added that coverage in there. Volkswagen 2018 and newer Crafter, that's their like Sprinter van type thing, transmission, and 2010 to 2014 Touareg anti-lock brake control model. So that's the highlights for vehicle communication. Let's move into guided component tests and see what we have there. So for Hyundai, we have the oil level sensor, active purge pump pressure sensor, and active exhaust solenoid. And we also have new location images on the Tiburon. Kia K5, new model, 1.6 and 2 liter test coverage for oil level sensor, active purge pump, fuel tank differential pressure sensor, and new location images on the Sorento, Carnival, and Sportage shown here. So that's very helpful. Like I said, those color graphic images show you where things are. Lexus, new models, engines and transmissions and brakes and so on and so forth. So multiple new systems added on these new models. Mazda, ADAS coverage on the CX-3 and the CX-30. CX-5 Signature 2.2 liter diesel engine. And then the 2.5 liter engine on the CX-30s and the CX-5 and the CX-50 shown here. Nissan Altima, 2023 update there, 2022 to 2023 Pathfinder. We also have the Titan 5-liter diesel engine, 2016 up to 2019 on that. And then 2020 to 23 Titan 5.6-liter ABS and engine there as well. Subaru BRZ and WRX 2.4-liter ABS engine and transmission. That is a fairly recent engine added to those, so that's in there. Hybrid electronics on the Crosstrek Hybrid. ABS engine and transmission on 23s on the Ascent, Legacy, and the Crosstrek and the Forester in there. Toyota Corolla Cross, a clutch travel sensor on that. And the new engines for Highlander, Prius, and Prius Prime. So that's a fairly new engine for those. So those are added as well. As far as Chevrolet is concerned, 2023 Colorado engine, Savannah, Silverado, increased coverage for transmissions. I know that's a big deal for the 6.8 and the 10-speed transmissions. 2023 Silverado 1500 3-liter diesel. So that's that smaller diesel that they have in the 1500. And then you can see the other engines added here. We're getting longer lists as we go. So I'm not going to read through every single one of these because you can see it on the screen. But Buick Envision, 1.5-liter engine, Chrysler 6.4-liter in the 300, and then 6.2-liter in the Charger and the Durango. And then the Hornet added a pretty large update. Like I said, that's a fairly new model for them. So engine, ABS, transmission, body electrical starting system, charging system, and HVAC tests all available for that vehicle. Ford, massive update for Ford when it comes to the guided component test for sure. So we can see F-Series, F-250, F-150, F-450, F-550, the 7.3-liter gas engine, 6.7-liter diesel engine. I mean, we had these engines supported before, but these are the newer, model years. So 2022s and 2023s. We see 2020 to 23 Escape, 2-liter. Let's see, 2020 Explorer, 3.3-liter engine. The Police Interceptor, 3.3-liter engine too. I know that's a big deal for fleets and municipalities. So that'll be helpful for them. Transit Connect, there's a lot of those around too. And the full-size Transit with a 3.7-liter engine. I know there's a ton of those running around as well. As well as a bunch of different Mustang engines and combinations there as well. So you can see the rest listed on the screen. GMC Canyon, 2.7-liter engine. Savannah, 6.6-liter gas. Once again, a large update on the transmissions. So similar to the Chevy. GMC will have that as well. And then Jeep, 2-liter engine and 8-speed transmission. And the Cherokee 2.4-liter engine on 2023. And Tesla, as we said, haven't had Tesla coverage up until now, but we not only added vehicle diagnostics coverage, we also added guided component test coverage. So it's on the ABS system to start. And of course, we'll be adding more as time goes on. It's just only so much you can do in 6 months, right? So ABS module, brake fluid level switch, brake pedal switch, brake booster, eye booster, wheel speed sensor, and more. So these are, the usual guided component tests that you would be used to, tell you where to hook it up, how to hook it up, and what it's supposed to look like on the screen. All for those. European, moving on. So we can see all these different models, added engine coverage, and let's see, X-Drive 40i, X5, 3-liter engine, 4.4-liter engine, 3-liter hybrid engine on there, going back to 2020, up to 2023 on those. Mercedes, lots of new coverage here. So AMG 3-liter hybrid engine, cam adjustment valve test for select 4-liter engines. So that's pretty important if you want to adjust the valves on those. That's going to be important for that. So you can see all the other coverage that's available and added for that. All right, let's move on to new and enhanced features because there's a fair amount of those as well. Let's take a little sip of water here. We got a lot going on, like I said. So Solus Plus, if you are a current Solus Plus owner, or if you end up purchasing a Solus Plus with 2024 or newer software, we now have the ability to switch it to Spanish. So we go from English to Spanish. I know we have plenty of Spanish speakers in North America. So this is be very helpful for that. I know they've been asking for Spanish on the tool for a while. So you have asked and we have listened and we have provided. So here we are, 24.4 with that update. There is now Spanish support on the Solus Plus only, and I'll show you why that is in a little bit when we go live on the tool. I'm going to show you how to turn it into Spanish and Spanish back to English. And we're also going to look at what the tool looks like when it is in Spanish. Also, piggybacking on that, I guess you could say, Snap-on Cloud now supports multilingual support. So that is for your vehicle system reports, your pre and your post scans, and also your ADAS reports as well. So your ADAS calibration reports. So if the tool is in Spanish, it will upload the pre-scan in Spanish. But what if my service writer wants to send it to a customer and the customer, well, maybe the service writer doesn't speak Spanish, or maybe the customer doesn't speak Spanish. You can go at the report level and switch it to English, and it'll print out in English. Or vice versa. If it uploads in English, I can switch it to Spanish, and it will go. So that's pretty helpful with that. So, and that's, like I said, on the report itself. So I will show you how that works in a little bit. Also with Snap-on Cloud, not reporting related, just kind of the navigation buttons and so on and so forth. You can now toggle between 8 different languages, including French and Spanish, because I know that's important in North America. French for Canadian friends, and then Spanish for any of our Spanish-speaking friends. If you go in the upper right-hand corner to switch it, and the site text itself will change, like I said. So the navigation, the menus, etc. The user-generated content, so your reports and your screenshots and things like that, do not change. Those keywords won't change. The file tags won't change, but it'll be any of the like the navigational-wise stuff will change into 8 different languages, including Dutch and German and so on and so forth. So once again, I'll show you that in a little bit. And also coming in on this multilingual support training. So the tool-based walkthrough training that we have on both our YouTube channel and our diagnostics website is available for Solus Plus in Spanish, since we do have the Spanish language change on the tool. So actually all the training is in Spanish, the screens are in Spanish and so on. And then for all of our platforms, for Solus and Apollo and Triton and so on, and Zeus Plus are available in French. For any of our French Canadian friends that want to be able to go through it in French, it is available in French. So always working to improve our training as we can and as we do. So with that, let's go live and check some things out between the tools and the websites and all that stuff. So the first thing I want to do is get this up on the screen here. Where is it? There it is. All right, first thing I want to do is let's walk through how to change languages on the Solus Plus. So like I said, you do need 24.4 or newer software on the tool. And we will go into Tools. And then we will go to Settings down there on the bottom. And then we will go to System Settings. And then you see the bottom choice there is Language. So we'll go to Language. And you see we can toggle between English and Espanol, which would be Spanish. We'll go to Espanol. And now you see my menus have changed to Spanish. Now, if I go to my main menu and I go into my scanner, we'll see, go to my demonstration vehicle, Chevrolet, pull up my Tahoe here. You'll see that the selections at the top of the screen are in Spanish as well. And then I will accept. And it says it's in demo mode, continue. And then I will do a code scan real quick. Pre-scan. Do not want to add extra information. There we go through our scan. It's going to save it here in a second. And then you see we can scroll through. We see transmission and anti-lock brakes and airbag, etc., all in Spanish. And then if I select the code, we will see that some of the SureTrack information is in Spanish. Not all. And this is why I said it's going to be just on Solus Plus for the time being, because the graphs are in Spanish. And then if we scroll down, we'll see the real fixes are in English, because there are a lot more of these articles and a lot more of that information. And that's all like cloud-based. So to translate all that is a much bigger lift than translating everything else we've translated. So you may see that in the future, but as of right now, Solus Plus is where you're going to get it. Now you do see the buttons are in Spanish as well. Okay. So let's switch it back. I'm going to exit my vehicle. Going to go back into settings. I am going to go to Ajustes or Ajustes. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, but that is your settings right on the bottom. And then we'll go to System Settings, which would be the top one there. And then Idioma is language. Go to Idioma, switch it back to English, and there we go. So that's how we switch our tool from English to Spanish and back again. All right. Clear out of that. And then next thing I want to do is show you Snap-on Cloud. So in Snap-on Cloud, you'll see I have all these system reports. Some of them are in Spanish, some of them are in English, and you see I have it filtered down by the tool. So automatically when you upload anything to the cloud, it tags the part number of the tool so you know what tool it was on. So in this case, the EESC 337 is Solus Plus. I'm going to select this vehicle system report right here that is in English. And you see over here, we have a switch. So we have English, and then we can switch it to Spanish, and we see it switches right away. I can click on the report. It's going to open it up, and it is in Spanish. I can download it, and I can print it. If I close that, I can switch it back to English, click on the report, and you'll see it's now in English. And once again, download it and print it that way. Also, globally, like I said, I'm going to back out of this real quick, though. So globally, we can go up here on the right-hand side and see where it says English. I can change it to German, English, Spanish, French, Italian, Dutch, Polish, and Portuguese. So that is for the guiding around the website type thing. So if I wanted to change that to Spanish, so we have selection there. Like I said, it's a lot of the navigation buttons and things. So down here, like archive and so on is in Spanish, but the reports, like I said, do not change. And actually, I'm in Google, and it says, well, I want to translate it from Spanish to English. So there we go. So let me switch it back to English, and you'll see it switches back to English. Also, didn't mention this earlier when we, believe that added this in the spring, multi-select. So if I wanted to delete multiples of these, you can change or download multiples of these. You can hit select, and then you can select multiples of them, and then download them or delete them from there, just with the selection icon that's over there. So we actually had that in the spring, and I know I didn't talk about it, so I'll talk about it right now. All right, so that is that. Now let's get to the scan tool. So let me see. So I'm going to go on this one over here. There we go. All right, so this function, it was not even, this vehicle I'm going to choose was not even available on, 24.2. So I'm going to go in here and pull up this 2023 Dodge Charger for guided component tests. I'm going to load that, and I'm going to go into engine, and I am going to look at the oil pressure sensor. If I go into a DC voltage test, that is going to show me that those new connector images or connection images. So here's where I hook up on the scope module. Now this is on a Zeus Plus I'm looking at it on. So it says ground and channel 1. So yellow and black test leads to the platform, color-coded. Connect the black test clip to the negative terminal on the battery or another no good ground, such as chassis or engine ground. So it shows it connected to the battery there. And then it says connect the yellow test probe to the connector terminal referenced in the testing instructions below. And we can see back probing there. And then if we go down here, we see our connector views there. So I want to go to 5-volt supply or sensor ground or sensor signal, depending on what I'm testing. And then it tells me what I'm supposed to see. For sensor signal with engine off and key on, sensor output should be stable. On engine start, you should see a rise in output voltage. So you would test it however you need to test it. Also gives us the PCM information there as well. Okay. So let's show a difference now. So let me pull up my 24.2. So this is my spring release. I haven't updated this one yet. I'm going to pull up my Bronco. Activate that. And in engine, we are going to go under functional tests, and we are going to look at special functions. And we see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 functional tests in here, including programmable module installation, that PMI that I talked about that's been so very popular. But we don't have that fuel leak test that I was talking about. So let's switch back to my updated Zeus. Go into my vehicle history. And where'd it go? There it is. Wait. And we'll go into engine again. Functional tests, special functions. And now you see we have 8 tests. And one of them is right here, gas low pressure fuel test for the direct injection system. So I click on that. Need to turn the ignition on. So for the test purpose, so the powertrain self-test should have previously been done to detect DTCs associated with a low pressure fuel system, high pressure fuel system, fuel injector, or fuel rail pressure sensor. Procedure involves fuel handling. Prepare for fuel spillage at all times, just in case you do have a leak. Always observe fuel handling precautions. The following conditions must be met. Ignition must be on, key on, engine off. Make sure the vehicle battery has sufficient charge to carry out the test. Continue. It's actually behind security as well. And then it's going to automatically go through this test. So it turns the fuel pump on, turns the fuel pump off, checks the pressure. Right now it's doing a 10-second leak for a gross leak. So if I had a big leak, it's going to definitely leak down in 10 seconds. And then it switches to a 60-second leak down pressure measuring. So as I said, so it's going to measure the fuel pressure itself, what's going on right now. It's going to turn on the fuel pump pressure and measure that. It's going to measure when it turns off the fuel pump, what it is. It's going to take 10 seconds to measure it again and see what the result is after 10 seconds. And then it's also going to calculate the pressure drop, if any. And right now we got about 30 seconds left on the 60-second leak down. And then it'll tell you what you're supposed to see. So it looks like right now, since this is a simulator, they're all the same number. And it gives you the known good range as well. So in this case, that would actually be a little low in real life, but since it's a simulator, that's to be expected. This one would be normal because it's supposed to be between 350 and 1200. And this would be fine because it's greater than or equal to 186. So that means that passed on the gross leak. And then the 60-second, once again, 386, greater than or equal to 186. We're good. But if it did leak down and it gave me a result, then we would know that it's leaking somewhere and we would need to go fix it. And we might find the fuel somewhere spilled out on the vehicle. So I think that could be a pretty helpful test in those situations. And that was also on the F-150 as well. So pretty helpful. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is going to be our Tesla. So let me see this one right. So Model S we're going to start with, 2016 Model S 70D. And we're going to go into Scanner. And in this case, we can query the network and display active ECUs or just display all ECUs that are possible on it. So I'm just going to do all ECUs since I'm in a simulator mode again. Could do a code scan, can clear all codes, and then we can go through here and we can see all the different modules that are available on the vehicle. Things like air suspension, codes, functions. So you can actually go in there. A lot of these you're going to find a lot of the solutions to some of their issues or the problems that they may have are going to be resets. So you do a hard reset, reset the ECU, a soft reset. In this case, for diagnostic purposes, we could also set the ride height, very high, high standard, low, or very low. There's also a pressure reading that'll give me the actual pressures of where they are in my air suspension. So that's helpful for diagnostic purposes. And then let me show you another example for, let's see, the battery management system, right? It's kind of just a giant rolling battery for all intents and purposes. So go into special functions and we can see all the different functions. So the way they present their codes, it's completely different. No P codes, B codes, C codes, U codes. It is like a proprietary type code that actually gives you a little bit of information with the code definition. But if you have some of these codes, like this one or that one, it resets that back to factory level. Plus we have soft resets, hard resets again, reset contactor stress counter, clear contactor stress results, and so on. And then back up again. And then I'm going to show you this. So in here, these three right here, alerts. So to display service alerts, first enter service mode and tap service alerts. Service alerts are that's essentially your codes that you're going to get out of the vehicle. So you can get some of this out of the touchscreen. So service fix alerts can be important issues and non-issues. It's common to see service fix alerts that are not important, and customer alerts are the same as those that show up in the display during normal vehicle operation. And then you can go from there to learn what it's supposed to be. Also, service mode, talked about that. So we'll tell you how to enable and disable service mode. You do need to enable service mode in order to hook up the scan tool and communicate with the vehicle. So this uses the touchscreen to enable service mode. It tells you how to do it here. It gives you the instructions. You press and hold and you enter in a service word, and then it'll allow you in. It's actually pretty quick. And then to disable it, it tells you how to get out of it. And then gateway, for some functions, you need to unlock the gateway. Now, this is not a secure vehicle gateway as we would think of with like Chrysler or something like that. This is just the gateway to like the router basically for the vehicle. Sometimes you need to unlock that. It will unlock it for a maximum of 90 minutes to do functions. So it tells you how to do that. Also, we have guided component tests in there. Like I said, it's on ABS to start. We'll add additional systems as we go. You can see ABS module, parking brake module, iBoost pedal sensor, brake fluid level switch, brake pedal switch, etc. And then also, you may or may not have known, if you have a subscription to ShopKey, ShopKey actually has Tesla coverage as well. So we're going to bring this through here. Now, I will say, there's many different models, and every single model is delved out by the repair order analysis. And I don't know if there's a ton of aftermarket shops necessarily working on these. So as we go, of course, the repair order count will build. And right now we got 7. But it's like pads and rotors, tire pressure sensors, headlight bulb on this one. I have noticed across, because I've pulled up a ton of these doing research, a lot of control arms, door locks, power window motor regulators too. There seems to be a fair number of those. But if we go into TSBs, we can see, it has all the recalls, battery management system, all the normal TSBs that you would expect on a non-Tesla car. And then DTC index. This is how they present the codes to you. So you see their alert codes, and then it kind of gives you the module as a shorthand. Then it just gives you the different, like, charging port door open. Okay, so it's going to tell you the parameters of that condition. And then you would need to go into Tesla information to find out, basically, usually the diagnosis, it's either a software update or a reset most times, from what I've been seeing. It's also wiring diagrams. Right now it is the Tesla wiring diagrams. So if I wanted to go into like the powertrain CAN network, for example, it is the Tesla wiring diagram. So we can see that, and we can see how they run out. So those are available on Shopkey as well. All right, and then one more thing. I'm going to go to our Model 3. So a 2020 Model 3. Remember how I said the Model S and the X up to 2020 have a DLC, so you can just plug it in with the regular 16-pin connector. And then the other ones are, they have a proprietary connector, but you can also access a lot of the information, or the majority of the information, through the touchscreen on these cars. So this gives you access to get into service mode or gateway, just like we showed before. So here's how to enable service mode. Here's how to disable service mode. Here's how to go in the gateway on that. So on those cars, you would do most of the diagnostics through there. We'll just give you the instructions on how to access that. So with that, that is our 2024 fall release. Just a couple more things before I go. Just want to make sure that I give you a shameless plug. And we got some questions, so I'm going to get to those in a second. But shameless plug real quick, there is a boatload of free diagnostics training available on our YouTube channel. Anything from ADAS to our OEM-specific training series we've been doing this year. We just delve into one make for half an hour, 40 minutes, and we just talk about the unique things that are about that, plus all the other stuff. These classes are about half hour, 40 minutes long, give or take, and covers pretty much the majority of stuff that you would want to know about diagnosing vehicles. We try to keep it rather general. We do get specific on the Snap-on tools, but we try to keep a lot of the theory kind of at a high, generalized. So it doesn't really matter what tool you have, you can still learn some stuff. So all good stuff there. If you scan that QR code right now, it'll actually bring you to that page, and it will subscribe you automatically. So it's youtube.com/Snap-on Diagnostics. I see we got a bunch of people on YouTube live. So if you are watching, please like and subscribe. It would greatly help us out with that algorithm. All right, let's get to questions. I'm going to go on Zoom first. Now, if you're on Zoom and you joined a little bit late, if you do have a question, just look up at the top of the bottom of your screen, wherever your Zoom controls are. You should see a little button that says Q&A. Click on that, type in your question, and I'll get to those. On YouTube, just feel free to use the live chat function. If you're watching this live, if you're watching it after the fact, please make sure to just leave a comment, and we'll answer those as we can. So let's get to Zoom first. All right, Simon's checking in. Hello, Simon. Football night, go Giants or Cowboys. They're both playing apparently. Thank you. Thank you for that, chiming in. Let's see. Simon, on the question about the battery, I would send me a message and I will walk you through that. Let's see. Simon also asks, is the Modus in Spanish? No, as of right now, like I said, the Solus Plus is the only tool we offer with that Spanish at this time. Let's see. And then also Simon, with that Mercedes question, send me a message on that one as well. Really not kind of outside of the scope of what we're trying to do in this class. So feel free to definitely send me some. Let's see. And then Spencer, I will get to that question tomorrow. Ask me that question in class tomorrow, and I will get to that as well. All right. So that is that. Let's go over to YouTube. We got a couple questions on YouTube. Alex Tolstoy saying hello, welcome, thank you. And then you see that Snap-on has Tesla. Are you guys going to sell the adapters? So as I said a little earlier, you may have came in a little late. But for the up to 2020 model year S and X, they actually have just a 16-pin connector, and you can go in through that. Otherwise, you can actually get through the vast majority of the diagnostics you would need to do through the touchscreen on any of the other vehicles I didn't mention. So the 3 and the Y, and then the newer S and X models. They have a proprietary connector under the hood. But for access to that information, a lot of the stuff that you would do with that would be using Tesla software. So most of the stuff that you can do that you'd be able to do with an aftermarket tool is going to be through that touchscreen. So we show you how to go through and do that. Now we are looking into that, possibly offering that in the future, but as of right now, this is where we're at, introducing it. Also, I will note during my research, I have noticed that starting in 2024 model year Teslas, all Teslas are going to have the 16-pin diagnostic connector back again. So we're going to have like a gap of a few years where they didn't have them, and then they're going to get them back again. So we'll see where that kind of goes. Let's see. Jeremy says, does this update the PATS access for Fords as well as for newer models? No. PATS was up to 2010. And then after that, you need LSID credentials through NASTIF in order to program those cars. And we don't really have that functionality on the tool. So that is not in there. B-Spin, is topology ever going to be added to the software? So this question gets brought up a lot. We've had discussions about it. And I will say, through our experience with topology on other brands, it is very hit or miss, and it can often be at best misleading for the way they lay it out, right? So you get the impression that it's laid out in the network the way the network's laid out on the vehicle, and it's totally not. Totally not the way it's laid out on the vehicle. It's just a pretty picture on the screen. So we show you what modules we communicate with. We show you what modules have a problem. And then if we don't communicate with the module, we don't mislead you and say that it's there when it's not, right? So if we were going to do topology, we would do it the right way. We would take network maps, and we would actually map it out the way that the network would be mapped. And if we can't do that, then I guess we won't be doing that, right? So like I said, in my experience using topology on other tools, it is very, very misleading as to how it is and how it's presented. So like I said, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it the right way, right? Because we won't mislead you. That's not our deal there, right? All right. And then Simon also asked, where's the Tesla class I think you're talking about? The Tesla class will be on my normal Tuesday night in 2 weeks. So not this next Tuesday, the Tuesday after. All right. And then on YouTube, Manuel says, when is the update showing up? So it has started rolling out. We kind of roll it out in phases just so we don't like overload the server or anything. If you have a software subscription and you have, say, like a Solus Plus, Apollo, D9, Triton D10, or like a Zeus Plus, you're probably going to get them. You may have already gotten them. Some people I've seen posting on Facebook that they've gotten it already. So we roll it out. It will be going into your dealer's computers. They already have the software, but they'll install it probably over the weekend, hopefully, and then it'll be available Monday morning if you go to your franchisee. Then they can hook you up there. Yeah, B-Spin just put in. I got the update 3 days ago on his Veris Edge, so there you go. I'm guessing maybe software subscription. Software subscription, they will get them first. So yeah, it has begun rolling out. So if you have one of those tools, you can always check too, because sometimes it doesn't pop up and tell you that there's one there. So just it kind of depends on what tool you have as to how it updates and how you're going to receive your update. So whether or not you're on a subscription or a data plan, or if it's a single software update. So there's multiple different variables. So not knowing a little bit more information about what you have for a tool. Couldn't tell you a little more specific than that, but yes, it has started rolling out for the over-the-air updates. The franchisees should have it in their computers on Monday. So if you get your software that way, we do that. All right. So with that, it looks like we have covered all bases on all questions. So I would like to say thank you. There we go. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you have gotten, as I said, this is just very much highlights of the cool stuff that we put in. There's so much more that gets put in the software updates. We just don't have the time to go through it. It'd be thousands of pages if we printed out a book, right? So tons of updates. Also remember your fast track intelligent diagnostics, Your SureTrack information got to be current, got to be on a subscription or data plan, depending on what function it is. And it's got to be current in order to access that information off the data services. So always just remember, best bet is a subscription to keep up to date. And with that, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good night and take care.